Expected to seek out the best 2 words to describe the activity. The Yoruba Unity Forum is conducted.
Be the first to know from the north, south, east, west, and around Africa.
Presidential
We break the news.
Women in Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news spreads. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV Primetime
News, a 24-hour news station.
It's less than 4 days to the much anticipated presidential election in Nigeria. We can't wait to report it, and I'm sure that you too cannot wait to go out there and perform your franchise. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Welcome to Core Digest, where we'll bring you in-depth review and analysis of the stories as we count down to the 2015 general elections. Of course, you recall that the President Goodluck Jonathan re-election campaign team some months ago rolled out an advert that compared the president with some legendary leaders like the former Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew. And that advert generated a heated debate concerning whether any living or dead Nigerian leader matched the courage and vision of the transformational leader. Well, very, very sad for the Singaporeans as they lost the founding father yesterday. He died at the age of 91. And right now, many are also beginning to talk about the lessons that Nigerian politicians can learn from the Singaporean Prime Minister, who for now know that they say is that single leader in the history of time who literally single-handedly brought a third world country to become a first world country within a generation. And there's much talked for 3 decades between 1959 and 1990, how Lee led Singapore selflessly but with ruthless intolerance for distractions and iron grip on power, which left his critics with no words but to describe him as a dictator. But the amazing twist and turn to all of this is that even the Western world that was very, very critical about his style of leadership has now started pouring out tributes to Lee. For instance, President Barack Obama has described him as a visionary leader. He said that he was deeply saddened by the death and said Lee's remarkable leadership helped build one of the most prosperous countries. He said Lee played an important role in helping him personally to reformulate the policy of rebalancing to the Asia Pacific. Of course, Prime Minister of neighboring Malaysia, a country that Lee had a touchy relationship with when he attempted to annex it, Najib Razak, also said the late leader's achievements was no doubt great and his legacy enduring. Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping also described the late icon as a strategist and politician widely respected by international society. So what exactly made this man so popular? What made him a global leader? What made him a legendary leader who is now being echoed by millions of people who chose to admire his rare and exceptional morality? Of course, the hashtag Lee Kuan Yew, through which ordinary people expressed their thoughts, went viral on the social media. The comments, just like his ideas, cuts across diverse race, cultures, religions, and sectors in the early days of his death. Many are beginning to talk about the many lessons Nigerian politicians can learn from him. Of course, they talk about what was key to the success of his administration being what is being described as his ruthless anti-corruption stance. Now, through a legislation, Lee gave the Corrupt Practices Investigation Bureau in his country a greater power to arrest, search, call up witnesses and investigate bank accounts and tax returns of individuals indicted for corruption. Now, many are also of the opinion that about 55 years when Lee assumed what would later on turn out to be an historic reign, Nigeria was far more visible on the global map even than Singapore. Yet the country has become a reference point at events where Nigerian challenges are being discussed. So, of course, the global community is celebrating this great leader who no doubt transformed his country. As a matter of fact, history records and recognizes him as the founding father of modern Singapore and the only leader known to have brought an entire country from third world to fourth world status in a single generation. Another thing that we must also bear in mind about this great leader who's been mourned by many in his home country is the fact that he reigned for about 3 decades. He was the first Prime Minister of Singapore and he governed that country for 30 years. Not sure any civilized country like Nigeria is ready to allow that happen. But of course, on the other side, that's also another good point for the proponents of continuity, and many are also of the opinion that at this time it is important that the Nigerian nation heading for a major general election in a couple of days should reflect on the legacies that this particular leader left behind, and it should also inspire prospective leaders to also think about not just winning elections, but bringing transformational change to the people and, of course, the system of the country. Lee died yesterday at the Singapore General Hospital, where he had been warded over a month for pneumonia while his condition deteriorated. Now, let's go back to Nigeria, where we are counting down to the 2015 general elections. Of course, the presidential election scheduled for the 28th of this March is not only of a matter of interest for Nigerians, but even it's becoming a concern for the global community as international observers are also coming into the country and talking about why it is important for Nigeria to conduct a peaceful poll at this critical time in the nation's history. One of them, of course, would be America's President Barack Obama, who has advised Nigerians on the importance of having a free, fair, and credible elections. The American president says that he's talking to the Nigerian people and is calling for all hands to be on deck to ensure that the polls are free, fair, and credible. All right, let's do a call digest on this clip, and I'm sure this is the only way this is the only channel you're going to see it all. It's about a 4-minute video where the #1 citizen of the world is actually concerned about your country.
Hello. Today I want to speak directly to you, the people of Nigeria. Nigeria is a great nation, and you can be proud of the progress you've made. Together you've won your independence, emerged from military rule, and strengthened democratic institutions. You've strived to overcome divisions and turn Nigeria's diversity into a source of strength. You've worked hard to improve the lives of your families and to build the largest economy in Africa. Now you have a historic opportunity to help write the next chapter of Nigeria's progress by voting in the upcoming elections. For elections to be credible, they must be free, fair, and peaceful. All Nigerians must be able to cast their votes without intimidation or fear. So I call on all leaders and candidates to make it clear to their supporters that violence has no place in democratic elections, and that they will not incite, support, or engage in any kind of violence before, during, or after the votes are counted. I call on all Nigerians to peacefully express your views and to reject the voices of those who call for violence. And when elections are free and fair, it is the responsibility of all citizens to help keep the peace, no matter who wins. Successful elections and democratic progress will help Nigeria meet the urgent challenges you face today. Boko Haram, a brutal terrorist group that kills innocent men, women, and children, must be stopped. Hundreds of kidnapped children deserve to be returned to their families. Nigerians who have been forced to flee deserve to return to their homes. Boko Haram wants to destroy Nigeria and all that you have built. By casting your ballot, you can help secure your nation's progress. I'm told that there's a saying in your country, to keep Nigeria one is a task that must be done. Today I urge all Nigerians, from all religions, all ethnic groups, and all regions, to come together and keep Nigeria one. And in this task of advancing the security, prosperity, and human rights of all Nigerians, you will continue to have a friend and partner in the United States of America.
Okay, President Barack Obama there talking about elections in Nigeria, why it is important for it to be peaceful and credible, and how important it is to the future of the great country Nigeria that has such an amazing potential to become one of the top economies of the world. I'm joined now by youth leader SIJIBOMI ADEBIYI. Good morning and thank you for finding time to join us today on Call Digest.
Good morning.
How do you feel hearing Barack Obama talking about Nigeria and the need for Nigerians to conduct themselves peacefully, especially, as we count down to the polls?
Yes, when I heard the speech, I was very, very encouraged, and it's something that should amuse and encourage the average Nigerian. That still shows that the Western countries are still very, very what do I mean now? Are still, their attention is still on Nigeria.
Still interested?
Yes, they're still interested, that's the word, in Nigeria. And they're still not just interested in what they can get out of Nigeria, our natural resource and all that, but they are interested in the well-being of the average Nigerian. And they are trying to communicate to us that even before, during and after elections, that it's very important that we conduct and comport ourselves very well. Then they are just trying to tell us that they're trying to encourage us as well from the battles we have fought and won before. He mentioned some things that coming through military rule, coming through transitions and democracy. We cannot at this junction now truncate all what we have built. So regardless of whoever wins the elections, we should try as much as possible to continue and improve from that.
He also talked about the sacrifices that we've made as a nation, and for the first time perhaps in a long time we're talking about patriotism and seeing ourselves just not as a tribal fellow in a constituent called Nigerian, but thinking of the nation as an integral part of a nation. Why would you say this message of patriotism hasn't been in the front line, especially during a season of political campaign?
Yes, because patriotism has been relegated to the back. Because everybody wants to use what they have or what they have as an advantage to hate the other person. So it's very important that, and so many times even for us youths, like I mentioned the last time I was there, it's very important for the leaders and for us youths to think very well, go back to the basics. Because it's sometimes when you look at comments of people who are the leaders of tomorrow, the way we take this politics and all that, on social media, you'll be very, very amazed, and it's pathetic. So, but the leaders are not helping us. The politicians are not helping us. Everybody is trying to, especially the two front burners now. And I will not want to mention one. One of them is trying to emphasize more on all these divisions, not intentionally, but the way they're going about it. When it comes to religion, when it comes to tribal stuff, it's very, very delicate, it's sensitive. And I'll try to chip in what the deputy governor said the last time. Part of what he said, I love it when he said he resigned because he discovered DC. Do you understand? It's very, very, that's very encouraging. If you have discovered something like that and you can prove it, that's fine. But when it was tending towards the issue of we from this side of
tribal sentiments,
I disagree with that. Because the problem in Nigeria is we don't take the country like a business. If like we are in courtship, if you know that somebody from the south can do this job better, and you are the owner of the company, or you have a stake, you are a stakeholder, will you employ somebody from your side, from the southwest, who will do a shoddy job? Nobody will do that. But when it comes to the issue of Nigeria, they will relegate that to the back, and they will rather go for the tribal argument
I understand
than
what
go
it
for the
means
best.
to look beyond, tribal and ethnic divides to choose qualitative leadership. But on the other side of the divide are also people saying that what happens then when you have a portion or a part of the country perpetually, in in a post of leadership? How do you balance it? How do you justify both school of thoughts?
Now, nobody should be talking about that now in Nigeria, because in the 55 years that we've gained independence, it's been very close. If you talk about the North and you talk about the South, and I think we should have, Nigeria is evolving. It will take time. But we should try, when we're trying to evolve, we should facilitate it. And, bring out arguments that will help us to quickly get over and go to where we're going to. Instead of, keep bringing out arguments that will take us back.
Let's quickly turn our attention now to ensuring a violence-free election, especially as we count down to the much-anticipated presidential election, this Saturday. Many talk about the involvement of young ones at this time, the importance of inducements like money, voting for a particular party or a particular region. In your own opinion, how do you foresee us doing without all of these troubles at this time?
Can I get a question again?
I'm talking about how to ensure that Nigerian youths are not involved in electoral violence, especially as we count down to the general elections.
Yes. There are so many advocacy groups. And I like the fact that Nigerians have woken up to the fact that you have your life to live after the election. In as much as 4 years is a very, very vital span of time in a nation's life and in an individual's life. And you can't toy with that. It's a long time. It can make or mar a destiny. It can delay. But you still have time. 4 years, God's willing, no matter who enters, we have another opportunity to set it, to get it right and to set it straight. So, and the youths who are trying, the very rational-minded youths and the very positive-minded ones are trying to really, advocate, encourage others. On social media, I first thing I do in the morning, I read the news, I go through social media, I check so many things. And you can see even the way BC's broadcast, messages on Twitter, on Facebook have been going out, to the fact that people have been mentioning the names of these political leaders and where the children are. And so their children are not here to, spearhead this battle. So why should it be you? So all these things are coming to the, but more importantly, because we have to get it right. That doesn't mean that that's the factual thing about it. More importantly, we have to, the civility and the constitutional angle to it is what we have to look at. Fine, go out and vote, comport yourself, observe your votes, try as much as possible to stay away from, after voting, from the voting area. Then you can observe from wherever you are. Then try, because from the fact that you are around, people are around, it will really, eliminate so many malpractices, because somebody that is sympathetic to this cause will not like his own cause to be undermined. So those are the things we're looking at. So the civility, the constitutional angle, we must make sure that we all adhere strictly to those angles. Then another thing about it is we have to also work with security people. Instead of, somebody said something yesterday, I think it was on a different platform, and they were talking about the use of androids and all that. Those things come in handy. When there was a robbery in Lekki the other day, somebody was filming, and those robbers never knew. So, and I think from that it will help. Even when you don't get the face, you get the stature, you get the physique, you get so many things, and you turn that to the police. And when the police commissioner and the governors made statements after. They said they already know the people and they are on their tail. So that's what we're looking at.
You're saying that even the electorate should be actively involved
Yes,
in the policing
actively
and
involved.
all of that.
Yes.
Of course, I understand that has limits too, but on one side is the expectation of the electorate to conduct themselves peacefully. But at the other side is what has happened to the prosecution of electoral criminals, if I can put it that way, in the past. Because if people are not prosecuted for doing wrong, what now then should be the reason why people should not do wrong?
Two wrongs don't make it right. So the first thing we have to do is we have to get it straight from now. Irrespective of the person that wins this election, if it's the ruling party, they have so much work to do. For me, they have a lot of questions to answer. These 4 years or 6 years, no matter how you look at it, they've not been encouraging. There's so many. They've tried in so many ways, but what with security of life, then integrity in terms of leadership, then corruption and impunity. Those are
your own
opinion. Those are questions we need to answer. So this brings to this is another question we're bringing into it: electoral offenders. So what have you been doing? Now, if people have seen that, and I like the angle is going to in Nigeria now. If people have seen that, okay, electoral offenders have not been punished because any party that wins in court shields them when they are from their own side, there is a higher level to go. That's why the ruling party is saying, okay, even for 2011, the major flag bearer for the opposition has a case to answer. The opposition is saying, even for this present time, the wife of the ruling party leader has a case to answer. So when everybody knows that your conduct is not limited to Nigeria, where you have the power when you win, then everybody will sit tight. And we can see the case of Babu and the wife in the ICC. So those things will help. Then we need, every youth and every citizen of Nigeria needs to know what the Constitution says about so many things. We're not so informed about things like that. Somebody woke up one day and said, cut the crap. This is, if somebody is encroaching on our freedom of movement during environmental sanitation, you can have environmental sanitation, but you don't have to restrict on people's movement. That's a good call. And they are fighting that in the courts now. Somebody woke up and said, this military thing is wrong. You don't have to use military for election. It's not constitutional. You have to go to the National Assembly. Because when there is a manual, you must work with the manual.
Okay.
Yes, so that's very important.
There's a court ruling now that has barred the use of the men of the Nigerian military from polling stations. Many are of the opinion that it's a right step in the right direction, but then given the precedence of what the people's perception of the ability of the Nigerian police is, what would you say? Because at the time the INEC chairman says when it is necessary, if it is necessary, the soldiers can complement the effort of the police.
Yes, it's a two-way thing. Personally, I want the soldiers to be at alert, but not at polling centers. And when you even look at the way our military have really, expanded over the way they're stretched over the nation, you will know that there are no 2 or 3 states that we don't have, like a garrison or a barrack. So, for me, it's not about the military man, the soldier, walking around at polling centers, because everybody is threatened when they see a soldier. I don't know.
On the contrary, some would tell you that some are even more confident when they see the soldier,
yes,
rather than the policeman.
That's why I said it's a two-way thing. If I don't have anything to hide, if I just want to go there and come back, fine. I can I will be confident. But, you know, we're talking about constitution here. And if I'm going to be at my polling booth and I'm going to be voting, and the constitution says I can stay there and monitor, and I now see a military man in that same polling booth, and his countenance or his body language is telling me that he doesn't want to see me there, I will run. Do you understand? So those are the things we're looking at. And for you to have soldiers involved doesn't mean you have to have soldiers at those polling booths or on the streets. The soldiers can be at alert, at their barracks or camps or wherever you put them in, especially for places where we have red alerts. They've mentioned them: Lagos, Kaduna, and Port Harcourt, Rivers. So those places it's very, very important that we have standby military men. But for electoral duty, electoral processes on that day, I don't think it's right for us to have soldiers there.
It's all right. Let's just wrap it up this way. We've talked a lot about the need for the Nigerian youth to be more responsible and more patriotic and, you know, be more peaceful in their conduct at the polls. But at this time also we're talking about, many are beginning to talk about voter apathy, that the initial reason why the elections were postponed was because of a regional force that was going on an onslaught on Boko Haram in the northeast. Many have also talked about how sensitive the elections became at that time. Would you say that the efforts of the Nigerian military have been able to douse that security threat, and it would encourage more voter participation at this time?
Yes, definitely and obviously. In those areas where Boko Haram were the soldiers and the people in control, our military have been able to push them out, flush them out. What people will be looking at in those areas is to make sure that those people don't come back and, you know, how this, you know, suicide bombing and all. But for you taking control of territories, Nigerian territories, that cannot be compromised, and that has been corrected. So that will improve voters' participation in those areas, which is something that's very, very obvious for all of us to see. Now, the second one is about if the extension has really helped other processes that INEC has to do. Yes, definitely. You know, it was maybe from people's insinuations that maybe a party thought it was not gaining enough grounds and had to postpone. But for me, at the end of the day,
it's
it was
a blessing
good
in
cause.
disguise.
Yeah, it's really a blessing in disguise, because personally, I even thought about it on Lovers' Day. If we were to held that elections, I even me, you know, foresaw a situation whereby anarchy and so many other things. There were some things you would not be able to control. But now, you know, everybody's morale just, you know, it could be positive, it could be negative, agitation and all that, but everything dropped. So people had to start all over again, and there's no way you can get to that level again.
There are a lot of international observers coming around, but many of them are being united on their stance that none of them will be visiting the northeastern part of the country. Do you see that in any way tampering with the credibility of election in that area?
Not at all, because we're talking about 3 states in Nigeria. So if election observers are not going to visit that place, it's really not a very good omen. But at least these are people that are not Nigerian.
Considering that that area has the 3rd largest number of registered voters in this election.
Yes, we understand.
And the result in that area could also decide who eventually becomes the president of Nigeria.
Like I was saying, if I'm a Nigerian now, if I'm told to go to Somalia to go and monitor an election, and there are places that are really, you know, danger spots, my country will not want to send me to those areas because I don't have the response. I'm just an observer. I'm not a stakeholder. So you don't expect them to come and lose their life or endanger their citizens in those areas. But that well said, I still think if we have like 3 or 6 states, the leading parties can really, muster enough of effort and, really get a lot of their observers and so many other party machinery to be there. So that what we're going to get there is you vote, I vote, let each vote count. So that we don't have a situation whereby somebody now goes there because election observers are not really there, especially the international, and take advantage of that.
Thank you very much for joining us today on Call Digest. Have been speaking with SIJIBOMI ADEBIYI, who is a youth leader. Thank you for joining us today. We hope to also have you join us subsequently on the show.
Thank you so much.
Now let's move ahead on the stories making headline. ECOWAS chairman and Ghanaian President John Mahama was of course, in Nigeria, met with President Goodluck Jonathan as regards issues ahead the March 28th presidential election. While he was speaking to journalists after the closed session, President Mahama said the visit is to ensure that elections are free and transparent. He also expresses hope that the results will be accepted by all, leaving no room for post-election violence.
Extended my solidarity to the Nigerian people through my brother, President Jonathan, to say that the whole of ECOWAS, not only ECOWAS, but the international community is in solidarity with Nigeria to have a very transparent and free election so that the democratic process in Nigeria will be further entrenched. This is a critical election for Nigeria, and it will be one more indication to the world that Nigeria is a democratic and a democratic country ruled by the tenets of good governance and rule of law. And so we want to wish you all the best. We are also meeting with the INEC to look at the state of preparedness. I believe that following the postponement of the elections from the 14th to the 28th, it has given the INEC much more time to be able to complete, all its processes and be in readiness to ensure that voters are not disenfranchised and that the results of the elections are accepted. We expect that there will be no post-election violence and that all the parties involved in this election will accept the results of the election in good faith when INEC has announced them. ECOWAS will continue to monitor the situation and will do everything possible to stand in solidarity with the Nigerian people to ensure that these elections pass off successfully and Nigeria continues in the role that it plays in our sub-regional body. As you know, Nigeria is a very important member of ECOWAS, the largest economy and the largest population in the ECOWAS region. And so Nigeria's safety and security is the safety and security of the whole of the ECOWAS region. And so all the presidents, I stand on behalf of all the presidents of ECOWAS and wish that all Nigerians will come out and express their votes, and their votes will count towards electing who becomes the next leader of this country.
John Mahama is Ghanaian president and ECOWAS chairman, and it also subscribing to the fact that the whole global community is watching Nigeria at this time. And it's about time to be proud to be a Nigerian. The American president is talking about the elections, the West African continent. The West African countries are also showing solidarity and support. Seems as if we're going to have lots of international observers and monitors on this election. And it's also important that politicians do bear that in mind, such that we can conduct ourselves peacefully and credibly ahead the election. He also held a similar meeting, this time with the presidential candidate of the APC, but this meeting was held at the airport as the APC candidate flew into Abuja from Owerri for the meeting on Monday evening.
We began this morning with a meeting with President Jonathan, and we discussed all issues to do with the impending election, and I had firm assurances that everything is set to go and that 28th of March these elections will come off. We expect the elections to be free, transparent, fair and credible, and ECOWAS is going to do everything possible to work with the political stakeholders and the Independent Electoral Commission to make sure that the election process is credible and acceptable to the people of Nigeria.
Okay, did you also get assurance?
Following my meeting with President Jonathan, I met with the INEC chairman, and he gave me the figures of their rollouts in terms of logistical deployment. And I believe that with what he showed, they have done satisfactory work to be able to ensure that every Nigerian is able to exercise his franchise.
Well, with just about 4 days remaining to the presidential election, a pro-Jonathan group is yet again demanding that, of course, the permanent voter cards could be used, but without the smart card reader. And it's just a few hours to the election. Looks as if anything could still change. This time around, they say that it cannot guarantee a credible process with the use of the smart card reader. You recall I had a guest on the show who also suggested that if we can confirm that the cards being used are not cloned, then probably we should just do away with the smart card readers. Let's find out what this group is actually talking about.
Crisis, INEC should quickly discontinue the planned use of smart card readers and instead use the PVCs without smart card readers, as was done in Osun and Ekiti states. It is instructive to recall that the smart card were not used in the 2011 elections, and yet the elections were adjudged locally and internationally as the best in the history of Nigeria, as free, fair, and credible.
We are not saying the election should be postponed. We are not saying the election should be postponed. We are saying that the smart card system should not be used. We have been using the manual system of voting in this country all along, isn't it? It will not involve any additional expenditure nor any additional activity on the part of INEC. All they have to do is that you go get accredited at your polling unit and go and vote as it has been done previously.
They also claim that INEC chairman is working to...
If they want a repetition of what happened in 2011, they believe that the election in that year was adjudged free, fair and credible. Emmanuel Ajayi was on the streets of Lagos to feel the pulse of Nigerians as regards the use of card readers and, of course, the controversies surrounding the INEC chairman, Ajayi Rujega. Let's find out what these people have to say.
It's too narrow to stop the gap because he's the one who have already hold it from 2011. Let him stay.
The guy should stay because he started the job and he must finish the work. So there's no need for anybody to change him at this crucial time. Because anywhere from now, at least the election will take place. And this man was the one that fought in the first election. We didn't complain. Why should we complain now?
Yeah, Professor Jega should stay. I don't see any reason why they want to remove him by now. It's like a football match. Well, as the opponent is getting to it, you now shift the goalpost. Is that right? It's not right. So I think the people clamoring for his removal, they have a skeleton in their cupboard.
Why
should you want the guy to go? The guy, let's see the guy finish his job and before you go. He's been working for us for a long time, and this is not the first time he's introducing the PVC card for us. So let us use it and let us test it and let us use it before they send me back. They send him away. It's okay for us. Let you work. Let you finish his job before you send it away. By doing that, we want to do a Joro, Abi. So please let the guy finish his job.
He's the one that contested 2011 election, which the whole world has said that is free and fair. So if he can conduct 2011 to be free and fair, I believe in him that he will conduct 2015 and it will be free, credible and fair.
All right, Nigerians there showing faith in the INEC boss that if he could do it in 2011, then of course he can do it again. But how many of us have really agreed that the 2011 election can be that George free, fair and credible? Well, we might also open the phone lines in the course of the show today to find out what you think about that. We'll take a break now. I'll be back with top stories making headline in some of Nigerian dailies. Stick around. It's Core Digest. Don't go away.
Morning, Mr. President. Morning, sir. How are you, Mr. President? How is the campaign?
We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. Martin Luther King, Jr.